In 1997, David Duval entered the final round at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am with a 3-shot lead. He was looking for his first PGA Tour win. It was not to be. He didn't claim victory in what would be his 70th tour event. For a normal professional, this wouldn't be a big deal, but it was for a golfer as skilled as Duval. The press had their own opinions on it. These media digs didn't matter much, as David had internal motivations and inner strength, which he developed after a horrendous family illness. And most viewers knew it was a matter of when, not if, he would win. In an era where Tiger Woods was making a huge name for himself, David Duval was ready to break out and claim his spot as one of the best golfers in the world. And you know what? That's exactly what he did.
Yes, indeed.
The best final round ever.
The golf world first heard whispers of David Duval in 1989 when he was the U.S. Junior Amateur Champion. Then he went to Georgia Tech University, where his teammates called him Rock, as he was fiercely competitive and unshakable, totally focused on golf and making a name for himself. This Stonewall-type personality was built through early years of deep trauma. When David was 9, his brother, 12-year-old Brent, was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is when the body's immune system becomes confused and begins attacking cells that perform critical functions. Curing this disorder typically involves a bone marrow transplant. As scary as this situation was, it became even more real for David because he turned out to be the best transplant match and would be the one donating bone marrow. The first day he was at the hospital, the doctor grabbed a stainless steel needle and entered it just above David's hip. The doctor pushed the needle in deeper, and David let out a scream that his father wouldn't forget. Brent looked to be getting better from the transplant. However, the worst-case scenario happened. The bone marrow began attacking his brother's body. A bacterial infection raged on, and one organ after another began to fail. Sadly, Brent Duval wouldn't recover. This death all but destroyed young David, who sat in silence for weeks until one day he yelled out, "I killed him!" coming to the dangerous conclusion that because his bone marrow attacked his brother, it was his fault that Brent died. Brent's death was causing other issues at home. His mother fell into a deep depression and started drinking heavily, and his father, a golf professional, eventually moved out. All of this planted a critical lesson in David's mind. Death could be right around the corner. So David Duval learned to depend on himself and to focus on something he enjoyed, which became golf. The sport gave him something he could control, especially when he beat balls on the range for hours, ridding himself of that false, internal self-blame. Like many people who became great players, they faced trauma early in life and escaped to the serenity of a golf course. Duval reveled in the peacefulness of it, saying, "There were no outside influences on the course, and I was completely into what I was doing." That sole focus on golf started paying off. The U.S. Junior Amateur win I mentioned earlier was followed by becoming a 4-time All-American at Georgia Tech. To earn All-American status, David demonstrated exceptional performance throughout the college season. He was also the Haskins Award winner, given to the most outstanding collegiate golfer in the United States. These awards proved to the public what Duval already knew. He was a damn good player. His coach at Georgia Tech agreed. David is a very unique young man. I have never seen anything quite like him before, and I have never seen anything quite like him since. It wasn't just his obvious playing ability, but also his sunglasses, which he started wearing due to battling dust and bad allergies, and his golf swing. That strong left-hand grip position, amazing pivot, and how his head turns early toward the target on the downswing were not the norm. After turning pro in 1993 and somewhat struggling through Q School, Duval played on the then-called Nike Tour. In '94, he finished in the top 10 for money earned and was given a full ride on the PGA next season. This is the list of the 1994 Nike Tour graduates. Most of them struggled in 1995 on the PGA Tour. However, David Duval would not. In fact, he proved how good he was right from the first 3 tournaments. Duval's first events in his rookie PGA Tour season were the Hawaiian Open, Northern Telecom Open, and the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He finished tied for 14th, tied for 6th, and a 2nd place at Pebble Beach, meaning the competition instantly noticed this rookie. 2 weeks later, he finished 2nd at the Chrysler Classic and finished for 2nd for a 3rd and final time in '95 at the Memorial. He was not victorious this year, but earned $881,436. 1996 was similar, including 2 second-place finishes, one which was at the Memorial again, finishing 10th on the money list. However, the pressure was starting to build on his ability to win, and some media began wondering when Duval would break through. Duval hadn't earned enough points, but was one of Captain Arnold Palmer's picks. To the vocal minority, it was a controversial choice because it was seen that he couldn't close out tournaments. Duval silenced some critics with a 4-0-0 record. However, some doubters still existed, which carried over to 1997, especially after leading at Pebble Beach on the final day, but falling back and finishing 2nd. Months later, he finished 2nd again at the Bell South Classic. This lack of winning ensured he wouldn't be in the 1997 Ryder Cup. David wasn't a captain's pick because he didn't have Ryder Cup experience, but it's been said that he was passed over because he hadn't won despite what he did in the President's Cup in 1996. Rather than being considered a champion in the making, he was perceived as someone who couldn't get the job done. He had all the talent in the world but kept coming up short. The press kept asking him when he would win. David Duval answered that question on October 12, 1997, in Virginia. It's crazy to go back and read the amount of pressure David Duval had on him in just 2.5 seasons. Nearing the end of '97, he burned this can't-win label and broke through massively. First, he was victorious in a playoff at the Michelob Championship. Then, the following week at the Walt Disney World Classic, he won in another playoff. And according to PGAtour.com, he was the first player in tour history to win a playoff in consecutive weeks. He wasn't done. 2 weeks later, Duval won the Tour Championship, 3 wins in 3 starts. In a year that saw Tiger Woods destroy the field at the 1997 Masters and win 4 times, David Duval was right behind him with 3 and finished 2nd in earnings. In 1998, David won the Chrysler Classic in Tucson, and was one of the favorites to win the Masters. This sacred grounds at Augusta National have always brought out the best in world-class players. On Sunday, David Duval had this putt for a birdie at 18. after making his par and signing his card for a 67. Marco Mira, a serious player in his own right, was still looking for his first major victory. After birdieing hole 17, he was now tied for the lead. He then put this approach shot in almost the same spot as Duval's ball minutes earlier and had a 20-foot putt to win the Masters. As David watched, an Augusta chairman told him, "Don't worry, nobody ever makes that putt."
Good looking putt. Marco Mira has won the Masters!
And just like a strong punch to the gut, his Masters bid was over. He finished tied for second, but this result didn't stop him from winning. 3 weeks later, he stood tall as the champion at the Houston Open. 19 under par, winning by 4. He then entered the US Open and got a respectable tied for 7th at the always difficult Olympic Club. He capped the year off by winning the NEC World Series of Golf and the Epilogue Championship. 4 wins in 98, Duval received the Vardon Trophy for the lowest scoring average of 69.13. He played like the best in the world, especially when Tiger won just once. The only other player in his league that year was Marco Mira, who won both the Masters and the Open, giving him Player of the Year award. Still, David beat everyone for money earnings. Duval knew Woods would have a better year next season, and he absolutely did. But David wanted to make his own history, so he set out to do something that would never be forgotten and had one of the best short golf stretches in modern day history.
For 59!
Maui, Hawaii is a beautiful place for golf and was the new host of the season-opening Mercedes Championship, which only the previous year's winners could attend. David had never played on or even seen the course, but the sport wasn't so difficult for him back then, saying, "Golf can be a pretty simple game when the golf ball goes where you want it to go. I played solid that week, and the ball went where I planned." Solid would be an understatement. He would demolish the course, and the field posting rounds of 67, 63, 68, and 68 for 26 under par, winning by 9.
We had, I think they call them Kona wins, and golf course played a lot easier. It's a good way to start the year.
After taking the following week off to snowboard, he entered the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic, a unique tournament played over 5 rounds instead of 4. After shooting 70 and 71, not much was expected of Duval, but that changed quickly with a 64. For round 4, he shot a 70, entering the final round 7 shots back. But history was in the making. 3 birdies in a row, and he was off to the races. Duval had this on 17, which he says was the most stressful situation of the whole round.
Crucial putt now for Duval. Yeah, beautifully struck.
Finally, on 18, he hit that classic Duval fade ball and had a second shot to the par 5 green of 175 yards. David Duval shot a 13 under par 59, the first time that has happened in the final round of a PGA Tour event. Here are the stats of this incredible round. It is one of the best ball striking performances of all time. 9 approaches within 5 feet and the longest putt hold of just 10. In these 2 tournaments, which had a total of 9 rounds, Duval shot a blistering 52 under par. A couple of months later, he entered the field for the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra Beach, a suburb of Jacksonville, Florida, where David was born. This tournament is always tough, with thick rough and firm greens. After 2 days, David Duval was 6 under par and 1 shot back. Then the wind picked up, making it a much more challenging test, with gusts reaching 20 miles per hour. David dropped 2 shots but went into Sunday as the leader by 1. He recalls, "My memories from Sunday are about trying to survive. Sawgrass should be an extreme test, and that's precisely what it was." Not only was Duval the local hero, but 300 miles away, his father was victorious on the 50 years and older Champions Tour. His dad would now watch his son try to make history. Duval was told about his father's victory on the 14th tee, which seemed to get in his head as he bogeyed 14 and 15, now standing on the 17th, the island green, with just a 1-shot lead.
He has taken it just left of the hole. Looks like it needs to get up. All right. It did, and this should funnel to the right.
The birdie chance.
Yes, indeed.
It was all over as he walked down the 18th fairway. His dad looked on. It was his 10th win in a 33-tournament stretch, was a $900,000 payday, and propelled David to the #1 ranked golfer in the world. Only a few days passed before he won again, and recalls the importance of that victory. Many people wouldn't think of the Bell South Classic win in Atlanta as one of my most important. Still, there was a professional satisfaction because I ascended to #1 at the Players and won again the next week, validating my position. David Duval had won 4 times in only 8 starts during the 1999 season. No doubt about it, at the time, he was the best player in the world. David Duval wouldn't win again in 1999, and Tiger Woods overtook him as the best golfer in the world. Duval briefly held the #1 ranking again for a second and final time, only for Tiger to snatch it away after winning the PGA Championship. Tiger ended with 8 wins in '99, so it was easy to overlook what Duval had accomplished. But looking at the data, it was one fantastic display of golf. He entered 21 events in 1999, made 20 cuts, had 12 top 10s, 4 wins, and became the first player since Johnny Miller in 1974 to win 4 times before the Masters. Next year was different, for Duval at least. Duval placed well with 9 top 10s in 19 events, but the main talking points were anything but those placings. First, he became more lean and athletic over the break, taking up a new exercise routine, saying, "It's difficult to compete against players much stronger than you." This would become a big talking point around the golf world. He played great at Augusta once again, having a chance to win, but...
Look out, look out, look out. Wrong move.
The noise was getting louder. When would he win again? It was everywhere. Before that year's US Open, this is the opening monologue from Charlie Rose.
Since his 1999 win at the Bell South Classic, he has gone 14 months without a PGA Tour victory.
Of course, he didn't win that week, as Tiger dominated the field. The next tournament he played was the Open Championship, and was in the final group, making a strong charge early. But the road hole bunker at the old course sealed his fate. After it was reported that Duval was playing through a back injury, which would cause him to miss 10 weeks of golf, including the PGA Championship. So the questions around him were about his health, his lack of winning, and the fitness he was engaging in. The press were becoming ruthless. Duval's not exactly yearning for his fat and happy days, but since going on a strict diet and fitness regime, his golf results have not been nearly as stunning. He gave up donuts for dumbbells and no longer appears so smart. Shortly after, he silenced some critics by winning the Buick Challenge, which was his only win that year. Around the same time, he opted out of his contract with Titleist. Duval then signed a 4-year, $28 million deal with Nike. Nike's main man, though, was Tiger Woods, whose game took off in 2000. He won 3 of the 4 majors, the modern-day Triple Crown, tying Ben Hogan as the only golfer to do it. But he had a chance to do better. At the 2001 Masters, with a win, he would hold all 4 major trophies simultaneously. David Duval tried to prevent that. Before the tournament, ESPN wrote an article about Duval's close calls there. 3 times he's had his hand on the door that leads to the champion's locker room, a place at Augusta National Golf Club where only winners are allowed. 3 times David Duval had it slammed in his face. His 6-under 66 on Friday put him within striking distance. A 70 on Saturday placed him 3 shots back of Tiger Woods. On the final day, after bogeying the first, Duval birdied 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. He tied for the lead on 15, but gave it right back on the next. On 17, he had this birdie putt.
Downhill, right to left.
On 18, after a great drive, he hit this approach.
Don't come up short. Use that backdrop. Put some spin on it and see if we can draw it back to the hole.
He's going to like this yardage.
Draw it back.
Now, a must-make birdie.
Oh, what an opportunity. Oh my gosh.
That miss allowed Woods only to need a par to complete the Tiger Slam. Of course, being so good, Prime Tiger decided to birdie it anyway.
There it is, as grand as it gets.
This crushing loss would be Duval's 4th consecutive top 10 finish at Augusta, and the last time he was a threat to win. Duval had done much of what pro golf offers, but sought to rid himself of the label best golfer who hasn't won a major, and entered the sacred grounds of Royal Lytham in St. Anne's for the 2001 Open Championship. After 2 days, Duval was nowhere near the leaderboard. But after scorching the course with a 65 on day 3, he was now tied for top spot, as was Ian Woosnam, but he was assessed a 2-stroke penalty on Sunday because he had 2 drivers in his golf bag. This 15th club would cost him 2 strokes when they noticed it on the 2nd hole. This all but guaranteed he wouldn't win. Duval started strong with birdies on 3 and 6. He hit a 360-yard drive on hole 7 and had this approach shot into the green on the par 5. He would make a birdie and was the leader by 2. He birdied 10, bogeyed 11, and then got it back on number 13.
It's a good putt.
He describes this second shot on the 15th hole as one of the best shots I've ever hit.
No, he's got it in the position there. Oh my word, he's chased it on the green. Well, that deserves to win the championship.
On 18, David Duval had a 3-shot lead.
And the champion, David Duval.
He had done it, winning a major championship and putting to bed all the doubts about if he would. David Duval became the first player to win a PGA Tour event, which the Open is technically, with Nike golf clubs. Tiger was still using Titleist clubs. The speech that followed was one to be remembered.
What a wonderful golf course, God. And I've played about, I guess, 6 different ones now for the event, and I just felt like this one's set up for me, just right. And I did. I honestly did.
I just feel like I'm seeing the hole so clearly now. It's 40 or 50 feet away. In the hole, yes!
Duval has worked on every phase of his game.
How is this a par 2? Man, this course is playing tough.
I had a whole other section edited after Double D's, as he was called, open win, but I decided to cut it out. This is about a different time in golf, when David Duval was a household name. Post 2001, he was anything but, and quickly drifted out of contention. Most videos or articles about Duval are what happened to him or how he fell off the map. Indeed, injuries to his body through exercise, a snowboarding accident, and the wear and tear of professional golf all contributed to his downfall. Things like vertigo, personal issues, and shifting priorities to become a good husband and father to his new family also played a role. But most of what happened to David's golf game is all speculation. What isn't speculation was just how good prime David Duval was. Early on in 1999, there were serious questions about whether he or Tiger Woods would have a better career. And even though it didn't last long, it's incredible to go back and see just how great of a player he was. While his personality may have been different, and he wasn't the poster boy for the PGA Tour or the media, David Duval was a great golfer, and I'll never forget when he ruled the world.
But he almost would rather have like a 20 or 30 footer for 59, simply because if you miss that 6 footer, you know, you probably should have made it. You know, but I hit it, and as soon as I hit it, I knew I had done it.
Hey my friend, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it, and thanks for subscribing. Tell me, what are your memories of prime David Duval? And here's a video on the 1999 US Open, in which David was in contention, but where his friend Payne Stewart conquered all.